For everyone that says I never cut or fix my hair, cut my hair today. I cut my hair today. So I just want y'all to know I cut my hair. I tried to color it too, but because the red is so close to the red that I had in the bottle, all it did basically was cover my gray. I can't put on any makeup because I got sunburn again today. Well, I mean, I got red. I didn't get sunburn. So I don't look very pretty, but we're going to still talk about this because this is important. I'm going to give it just a minute and see if anybody climbs in here. I've got a loose hair something on my face. It's driving me nuts. So they were slow yesterday to like bring out the news and bring out the information on this investigation. But they finally did. And so now that I found out more information, especially about the family interviews seem even more suspect to me. Because the family yesterday who said, oh no, he was just quiet, he just kept to himself, he didn't bother anyone, he was just on the computer a lot, you know, never had any issues. Thank you, April. I actually cut my hair and washed it, got it out of my face a little bit. I need to cut a whole bunch more off, but I think I may leave that for my hairdresser. She may kill me if she knows how much I chopped off my hair. I like to razor my hair at home on my own time, and she gets a little irritated with me. But so after this new information came out, the family interviews were even more suspect because they were like, oh no, he's just a loner. He just spent a lot of time on his own, in his room, on his computer, doing music. Oh no, there was no signs. And now we know that in 2000 and I think it was 18, that they were actually called to the home because he had apparently expressed a desire to unalive himself and the remainder of his family that lived with him. What's the problem, people? That's a problem. That would be a problem that the law enforcement should have followed through on. So on top of that, when they were there during that time, they took from the residents like a dozen or so swords, katana swords, knives, and daggers and stuff like that. Now, does a knife collection or a dagger collection like freak me out? No, but in that regard, yes, you have to see the connection there, and if there is someone who's having mental health issues and ideations, you do need to take those away from them. But here's the funny thing, is that then just as, okay, because I was getting reports that he was 18. No. He was 18 the first time they had contact, apparently. He's 22 now. So he's 22 years old. And he's such a dink. It's like, how did you ever get to 22 being that small? I don't understand. I've got a curl that wants to go the wrong way over here, and it's driving me nuts. But, so we've had an issue. We had law enforcement come out. We had words used that normally law enforcement would have done a report, would have placed it on file, so that if he had done a application for a background to get a pew-pew, it would have been like, nope, sorry. This man has been violent in the past, has threatened violence in the past, and nope, you may not sell him a pew-pew. But somebody didn't follow through with what they were supposed to do. And it was most likely the cops, because whether the family wanted to report that or not, the cops should have. There should have been a mention of it. There should have been a report. And that report should have pinged on a background issue for mental health or like a domestic violence issue. So store owners can see if there have been contact with law enforcement, if it's been negative contact, and if there have ever been any kind of domestic violence issues. Even if there are no charges, it shows contact with law enforcement. So they could have said, no, you can't have this. But there was no trace of that. There was nothing there. So someone didn't do their job, most likely law enforcement. Now, if you look at law enforcement in the great state of Chicago, you have to wonder why they would even follow through with the paperwork, because everybody and their grandma is probably packing, and probably packing illegal. So I understand that the cops probably feel overwhelmed, but they dropped the ball here. Somebody dropped the ball big time, and the family dropped the ball for 18 to 22 years. There's no way around that. Because someone that is going into this type of planned and executed behavior has been planning for it for a long, long time and should have been showing signs, especially with the withdrawal from family, the withdrawal from conversations, communication, all of that. Oh, thank you, Denise. I chopped my hair out of my face, even though I kind of like it in my face, like I like my swoopy bangs, but I need more. I honestly, people, I'm going to go for a mullet with the long sides that goes over the ear and then goes back in the back. I swear I'm going for a mullet. Because my hair is super thick, and even after I razor it and thin it, it's still super thick. But this is just one of those things where it shows where everything fails, how it fails, and what happens when it fails, and how government agencies are not always the end-all be-all what they claim to be. Like the family, probably after the contact law enforcement, probably shut down and just didn't want to talk about anything he was doing ever again because they didn't want law enforcement back at the house. They didn't want, anyone to know their business because we had a mayoral candidate in the house, right? So I can see that the family may have been like, nope, we're not going to talk about this. This is not going to be anything that we're going to talk about or do. But they should have cared enough to follow through just to make sure that he could not purchase a weapon. It is one of those things where you have to love your family member enough to drag your own family through the mud a little bit. You have to show your flaws and imperfections to people to protect your family. And so everyone, there's not a single person here that did not drop the ball. Family, cops, every government agency, anyone that knew his name, had a report done, or had contact with the family or him, they all dropped the ball somewhere. So this is a big deal. We need to start paying attention to stuff like this. My big thing is there were other shootings in the state. You don't hear it like the same day, and you're not hearing anything about those. Nothing. But they're saying, oh, he shouldn't have been, this guy was on the news this morning saying he shouldn't have been able to have had an automatic weapon. He can't have an automatic weapon. And if he bought a weapon and augmented it to where it would work as an automatic weapon, it was an illegal weapon. I can't understand that people don't know the basic gun laws. Hello. He had to reload multiple times to do what he did. That shows intent and motive. And then he dressed as a female to evade police. Now, you heard me say last night, because of his stature and the way he's structured, his time in prison is going to be literally the 7th layer of hell. Because he is a very teeny tiny little boy. So, he's not going to have a good time in the pokey. I can't stress that enough. But I can't help but think if somebody could have caught him around the age of 13, 14, when he first probably started having these ideations and spending a lot of time online and gravitating toward online communities and gravitating toward some not so pleasant musical lyrics and musical themes, this young man's life could have been so totally different, and we would not have the devastation that we're seeing today that families are trying to heal from. Literally, when one link in the chain breaks, everything is lost. And so this is an excellent learning. It's an excellent learning scenario, but it's at a heavy cost. It's at a really heavy cost for these families, and that's not fair. It's not fair to them. We cannot wait for government agencies to step in and fix everything. Parents, you can't wait. You can't. As soon as your child does something that might startle you or upset you or scare you, you can't say, oh, I'm going to get them an appointment with a professional and they'll take care of it. You've got to be in that loop. You've got to be in that loop to repair your child. You've got to be in the loop to show your child that you are part of the solution. Otherwise, you're just the Uber. And there's no respect there for you. You've got to be part of the solution. You've got to be an active participant in how they heal and how they restructure their life so that they can move forward in a healthy way and have eyes on them at home, not just once or twice a week in a therapist office. That does not work. I can't tell you how many times I tell parents, you guys are the key to making sure that this improves. Because I can't be there 24/7. I can't. I can give you tools, but if you don't use them, it won't work. So this is just a really great example of families can hide anything. Law enforcement not doing paperwork can really screw a lot of things up. Families that may have political ambitions will hide even more than most. And young men that no longer have an outlet for their actual growth struggle. I think he struggled more than most. All we do is say that men are toxic anymore. Masculinity is toxic. Being a strong man is toxic. But that's not true. Because honestly, if men are strong and capable and the protectors of the family, it allows the woman to really be more of a caregiver, of a mother. It really allows the woman to explore more. I mean, she can have a career. She can be a awesome mom. It takes a lot of worry off of her plate because she knows she has this man that is this big protector, and so she doesn't have to fill in the gaps in the relationship as much as she knows this is my side, what I'm dealing with, this is his side, what he's dealing with, and he's got this. A lot of women don't have that trust in their mates anymore. They're like, I don't know if he's got this or not. I don't, I was raised in the country, so me and Dave both got this, but I trust my husband implicitly. If someone were trying to come in my home or come on my property and harm me, he would handle it. And he would handle it straight away. And if they got to me, God help them, because I am not a nice person. But the sad thing is that we don't allow men to be protectors anymore. If they try to have a little bit of muscle or protect a woman, they're stifling her or suffocating her. But if they try to just love her and appreciate her, then they're pansy little men that don't deserve a woman. And so men, young men, boys that are transitioning into adulthood, they're in this huge catch-22 to where there is no right way to grow up anymore. And growing up's messy enough without wondering what society is going to think about you. I mean, my God, Harry Styles was wearing a dress the other day on the magazine. That flipped the switch on everybody. Men don't know how to present themselves anymore. And they certainly don't know how to react in relationships anymore because women have become toxic. Women have become buttholes. Women are Satan incarnate. I mean, honestly, for the most part, women are very territorial. They're very demanding. They're very toxic toward people that take care of them. They're very condescending toward people that actually care for them and take care of them. Like, if any of you have seen the video going around about the man who brought McDonald's for his one child that he had with this woman, but she has 3 other children by 3 other men. She threw the McDonald's away. She threw it in the street and said, if you don't bring it for all, you don't bring it for one. Well, he didn't have 3 other babies with you. He had 1, and he's providing for his one child. And if you want the other 3 to have McDonald's, you call their fathers or you go buy it yourself. He is not the reason you had 3 other babies. He's the reason you had 1. Math is pretty simple. And if you got 4 babies and 4 baby daddies, then you've got 4 times the problem that you need to have. And so women are super toxic. And it's very difficult to be a man these days because everything is wrong. It's even more difficult to be a woman because we can't even define what that is anymore. But men, it's just like an ambiguity. Like, it's an anonymous circle where they grow up. And if they know anything about each other, then they make it a toxic trait. And that's what it is for young men online. Everything turns toxic. Unless you're a celebrity, and then everything you do is amazing. So we've got to start to look at these young men and say, you know something, it's okay to be masculine. It's okay to have a protective nature. It's okay to explore some of the emotions you're going to need to have when you get into relationships and you get married and you're protecting a family. It's okay to explore these things. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. because we have taken away some of the most natural components of protection for men for their families, and we've sat them over here and said these are horrible, horrible, nasty things, and don't you dare touch them. If you even think about it, you're a horrible person. Well, guess what? Little, young, impressionable, spindly boys that are struggling go, oh, so if I'm going to be a big mad man, I need to go touch all these things that are off limits to me and be a big tough man. And so they get this idea that if they can accomplish this, they will somehow have matured and reached their goal in their head of being a big tough man. No. No, no, no. It doesn't happen that way. What is even weirder is that he dressed as a woman to evade police. The preparation that went into this for the family to say that they had no idea. I don't believe any of it. Just the way the uncle's eyes were wide open, the stress, and the way that you could tell the brain to the mouth was repositioning words constantly, and he was thinking about how it would convict him if he knew too much about his nephew. Big red flag. Big red flag. He knew something was going on with that kid, and he chose to ignore it. Big red flag. I haven't seen anything with the father yet, so I don't know. I don't spend all day on the internet. I don't have the best internet in the world here in the Sticks anyway. But I haven't researched everything, and haven't seen anything with the father yet. I just know he was a mayoral candidate, and it must be sad for a young kid to grow up and watch the father go out and schmooze and love and shake hands and talk to everyone else, but not talk to him or take extra care at home. Because you can tell from the way the uncle spoke that they had 3 separate living quarters. They kept to themselves. There was not a lot of interaction. And what interaction there was, he was very careful to talk about it. So, no, I don't think it was a good home environment. And that's just my opinion. I mean, don't take anything I'm saying as God's honest truth. That's just my opinion and how I feel from what I'm saying. I honestly think this was just a lost young man. I think that we're going to probably find out there was probably some potentially borderline personality issues or some bipolar schizoaffective disorder issues, possibly. That's just my opinion. That's where my mind wants to go. There's going to be some motivation for this, and I will not. It would not surprise me to know that the motivation was some kind of audiovisual hallucination or hallucinatory nagging voice. What a lot of people don't know about schizoaffective disorder is that when they hear voices, they're never nice voices. They never say anything nice. They're not your friend. They're antagonistic, berating, demeaning, condescending voices that try to force you into actions. It is very much like having a demon on your shoulder. And that's how I've had so many people that have had that disorder explain it to me. So I wouldn't be surprised to find out that perhaps that was something that is going on. I don't know how much they're going to release of the psych eval that they do, because they will be doing one. I'm excited for them to do it because I think it's going to open up a whole lot of information. And if they choose to publish it, it can help a whole lot of families, but I don't know if they will or not. It just depends. Right now, they're trying to really run this as a 2A issue, and they're trying, even though the laws in place, had they been followed correctly, would have stopped all of this, they are still going to run this as, oh, we need to reduce the number of these on the streets, you know. But the shameful thing is if there had been a law-abiding pew owner able to have been carrying concealed there, that could have potentially ended with a lot less carnage. And I think that should be in the back of everyone's minds. When criminals, and I've worked with criminals, retired parole officer and counselor, when I ask criminals, what do you see when you see signs that say gun-free zone? They're like, it's a candy shop. There's no consequences. Go in there and do what you want. Take it from the mouth of the criminals. They will tell you exactly. It means free for all. They can't protect themselves, so you can go in and do whatever you want. So these cities that have these really tight restrictions are probably really only doing harm to themselves. And it's sad to see a day of celebration turn into something that it shouldn't have been. It's sad to see how everybody talked about the 4th of July yesterday on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. Did you see the celebrities that tried to bash the 4th of July? Horrible. Like they're talking about this nation, they're talking about it in reference to historical stuff that is not valid, not true. But they're trying to make it the story, make it the timeline, make it the narrative. People. Conquering the world was something that every people in a position of power set out to do. And you cannot hold a grudge for several hundred years, and you cannot try to pass that grudge along and pass the responsibility along to people that were not alive then. And you can't turn a nation that has more options for you into a jail cell because you've never lived anywhere else and you don't understand the rules anywhere else. But I'm still seeing the screaming of people saying that, oh, women are going to die now. There's so many women that are going to die. No, there's not. There will always be medically necessary procedures for women. There will always be a clause for that in the law, even in the states that are wanting to do away and not allow it to happen. There will be medically necessary clauses in the law. There will be at least half the states that will maintain the ability to have them readily, probably with funding, free, conveniently, and many states up until moments before birth. So there was not a lot changed other than the funding, and the decisions went back to the states. That's about it. Personally, I think they're going to turn this into a huge medical issue with insurance and billing and milk it, because the federal funds have paid for so many now. They realize that they could probably get into a contractual obligation with insurance companies and make way more money and still end up with a product that they want, which is tissue for research. So I'm just waiting to see which way this one goes, because it could go a few ways, but I don't think anybody really thinks about that. But they will recoup any fees that they think they've lost through medical insurance or sliding scale fees. Just going to let you know, the federal government is not going to lose a penny if they don't have to. So there's a plan behind all of this. Don't ever think there's not. There's somebody's got a big plan going on, and we probably just don't know what it is yet, because we've not seen enough of it to kind of know which way we're going to go. Most of the states that are doing the trigger laws are in communications to create a voting base or a voting date for the base to vote to determine what their new laws and restrictions will be. So everybody's screaming that the trigger law states are banning. They're not. They've just stopped because now they have to go back to their citizens and say, okay, we need to vote on this. What do you want the state to do about this? So many states over the next 10 months to 18 months will have to have a lot of dialogue, communication, and voting to determine what their states are going to do with, in creating these new laws for this new state-controlled, it should have been state-controlled the whole time. That's how the U.S. is set up. State-controlled procedure. So, just a few things that have been on my mind. I don't know. The more I hear about the Illinois stuff, but he only ran through like 3 or 4 miles. They caught him. He knew he was going to get caught. So, I don't know if he was trying to prove something to himself, trying to follow a hallucinatory agent that was prodding him, or was just wanting to make a statement and potentially ruin his family and his father. But it was malicious, it was planned, and even if there's a mental health issue, they are aware enough. They have cognition to where they can plan and do these horrible things. But having a mental health issue is not as much of an impairment with your cognition as much as is socially. And so, there's very smart people out there that probably have IQs far above most of us that are mentally impaired, and they struggle socially, and so they don't present as someone who may be as competent, but their cognition is not damaged. It is just influenced inappropriately. And that's something I think people don't always understand when they see people that have mental health issues, especially schizoaffective, with the hallucination disorders and stuff like that. So, just some stuff to think on. That's basically all I wanted to come on here and say. I made the coyote earrings earlier today because I was sending them to a friend. So I did that earlier. We have a surprise coming up in probably about a week or two. We have someone that we love to watch on several social media platforms that is quite the hoot, who is going to be doing some shout outs for us and some little advertisements for us. And he's right up the road in Kentucky. He's a great guy. If you are on Facebook, I think he goes by Hillbilly Hartman, and I think on TikTok it's Old Hillbilly Hartman. Funny guy, very, very good, genuine guy, very nice man. Loves the older generations, the older country, has a great sense of humor. He's in a really great pocket of Kentucky to where there's major travel corridor that people could bring us items if they need them tanned for after hunting season and stuff. It's not a long drive. So we sent him a couple of items to introduce him to what we do. Well, I say what we do. I don't do anything. David does it all. We sent him a couple of items to show him what David is capable of. And so he is going to do several advertisement plugs on his social media accounts for us because he has quite the following. And the following he has are your old school country bumpkins that still hunt, still eat out of the woods, still fish, still So I think this is going to work out really well, and I think it will be another avenue because we don't know of a lot of the vendor sales and the setups north of us. So I'm thinking this will be a great way to work with somebody so that we can actually span up and go north. And as for an update about the girl who thought the bobcat should feel like hair extensions from Sally Beauty Supply, even after I said, if you don't love it, I don't want you to keep it. Send it back for a full refund. I'm ready to resolve this. How do you want to proceed? She has not messaged me back. So I think when she got my message explaining what she didn't understand, that it was a living animal and not faux fur, and that and explaining how many times it had been washed, and explaining basically the entire chemical pickling process and the washing, I think she understood more. But it's frustrating when you have someone that tries to purchase your art and they're not educated enough to understand or appreciate your art, and so then they try to pull these little power plays. I don't appreciate that. I don't like power plays. I dealt with way too many convicts for way too many years. I don't like power plays. Don't appreciate them, and when you do it, I will get still-faced and I will get very hateful. But I was professional, and I was nice, and I was ready to send her money back, but she has not responded. She has not even tried to go through the appropriate way in Etsy to resolve this. So I think she's probably just going to let it go and realize that she got a really nice hide. We've got multiple people that have bought multiple hides off of us that love them. So I think she just was not aware of what to anticipate. I think she had unrealistic expectations because she did not have any education into this world. And I think once she educated herself or asked somebody else to say, hey, what do you think about the quality of this hide? I think probably somebody said, that's a daggum nice hide. So, nothing else from her, but if she wants her money back, I'll completely give it to her. But that's the first one. And it struck me the wrong way because she was trying to compare the bobcat hide to hair extensions from Sally Beauty. and you just can't make that make sense. There's no way you can make that make sense. And it just struck me the wrong way, and I was like, I'm gonna name her Dilbert. So when David checked in at dinner time tonight, he was like, has Dilbert messaged back? And I said, no, Dilbert has not. So it's frustrating, but you run into these people, and because we work in such a niche, I say we all the time, I don't do crap, it's David, because he works in such a niche genre, and something that is such an old school thing. There are so many people that are just not educated and make assumptions when they buy fur, and they're not really prepared to know that that is actually the hide off a dead animal. And they don't feel like hair extensions or wigs or your hair. They're clean, but it's a whole different type of hair, structure of hair, cellular structure. It's all different. I think they have we have like 7 dermal layers or something like that, and some animals have so much more, like the waterway animals, and then other animals have so much less. Foxes have it's paper thin. So a lot of people just don't know these things, and I don't mind to educate, but educating when someone is really snarky like that is, I was so good years ago when I had to work for the state and I had to be professional with hateful people, but now I'm just kind of like, ain't nobody watching me and I can say what I want to say, but I have to remember, no, be nice. These people, bless their heart, ignorance can be cured. Let's try to cure it before we just cast them out and go, sorry, you're on your own. Get in the dinghy, float away. So I'm tried to be as nice as I could, but it was frustrating, mostly because I see how hard my husband works, and I know how much pride he takes in what he does, and to have someone bash him comparing it to extensions from Sally Beauty boggled my mind. I'm going to be laughing about that when I'm 90 and in the nursing home. I tell you what, I'm going to be telling people about this until the day I die. Because it's just one of the things that should never have happened. But he did add, I think he added a possum last night, or as I call them, saber-tooth speed bumps. He added a possum last night, and he took my beaver medicine stick and put on there. I don't know if it will get a lot of traction or not. I have no idea. I'm working on something for a friend. This is probably looming around here, and if you are sneaky, don't say nothing and act surprised when you get it. But I have this huge cow vertebrae. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bend willow and use this as the top, and I'm going to weave a dream catcher in between this and the willow that I bend in a U underneath it. Or I may do 2 and do 1 U on top, 1 U on bottom, and weave both ways. And then I'm going to bedazzle the crap out of it and make it really pretty, and put some gemstones on it. And it's going to be a gift because she has been so kind and gracious with me. And so she really appreciates my odd creations. So I think she'll really appreciate this. So I don't know exactly what it's going to turn into. I have a couple of thoughts in my mind, but you all know when I get my hands on it and I try to start working, it will tell me what it wants to be, and it will become what it wants to be. I'm not done a whole lot today other than razor my hair because we had a lot of thunderstorms and my hands were really puffy today. So I wasn't going to try to do any fine things. So I literally made a pair of earrings and razored my hair, and that's about it. But I wanted to come on and say that's what we learned. That's what the cops released. That's the new information. Makes a whole lot of sense. Things are coming together. The sad thing that I think I probably need to tell everyone that's watching this is there's evil in the world that you cannot even begin to imagine. I saw a lot of it when I worked with the Department of Corrections, and I supervised the murderers and the violent male offenders and the people that did really horrific things. I helped with the sex offenders and everything. I saw some really horrible, horrific behavior from humanity. And so everybody is super shocked. I'm less shocked about this as I would be other things, because I can see a normal advancement of a juvenile that's struggling, going into adulthood and still struggling, and having an issue, and this becoming their only way out, or their only way out to declare themselves. This was a statement from him. And I don't know who it was aimed at, his family, the community, I don't know, but it was a statement from him. And I think it was probably a statement due to mental illness and what he was suffering through that nobody was helping or knew about, or he hid effectively. But I think a lot of it was loneliness and just not having the support he needed. But now that they're giving more and more information, I'm starting to put more of the puzzle together. But there are worse things that happen every day that never get news time. That if they did give it news time, people would raise up in revolt. There are things that I have seen that the cases are sealed and protected so ferociously, because if it got out, communities would absolutely go crazy. So, as sad of an event this was, I have to tell y'all there's much, much worse out in the world. And there's evil that has not even been tapped into yet that I think we're going to see in the next coming year or two. And I think it's just going to get worse, because we're now approving of behavior like this. We're allowing people to choose sides, and for one side to have more leniency and much more of a physically progressive behavior than the other. And we're allowing the court system to be jaded politically, and we're setting our nation up for failure. Because somebody wants to feel important. At the end of the day, that's what it is. Someone wants to feel important. But they don't understand that there are so many other ways to feel important besides hurting other people. But this is what happens in every civilization about this time. We've made it longer than most. Go back and look at the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Romans, the Phoenicians. Go back and look at all of them. We made it longer than most. But this is going to be a big hiccup. Prepare for a big hiccup. So that's all I'm going to say. I've got to do some dishes and I'm getting to bed. I love you. I've had 2 days where I've actually been able to get in the pool and get some sun. My vitamin D is kind of boosting. I feel a little bit better. The swelling that I had gone through with my flare last week is about gone. And being able to do my physical therapy in the pool is helping a lot. I'm just tired tonight because I've been sunburnt twice. And not sunburnt, I just get red and then I tan and freckle. That's what I do. That's the Irish and Cherokee fighting. Get really red and then I freckle and tan. But it kind of wears me out when I do get a lot of sun, because I get an inflammation response because of my RSD, and then my body has to battle it, and I get really zonked and tired. So I've been really tired today. But me and a friend are talking about filming rugby for you all, historic rugby, which is just like 10 minutes down the road from me, which is in like an old 1800 settlement. Everybody came from like England or London or somewhere, and they settled, and then they all died out, and they don't know what happened. But they left all the beautiful buildings. They've been maintained, and now it's a caretaker society, and some people live there, but they've kept this place as it was. And the church is worth seeing alone. The church is beautiful. But we can take you through all the old cemeteries and a few of the buildings and just kind of let you visit there and see what's going on. It's a really neat place, but it's got a really creepy vibe. I'm just going to warn y'all. And so we're thinking if my health holds out, we can get out and do some fun stuff on some of the cooler days. So me and my friend are fixing to be mobile. And you've not met her yet. Well, she's on here sometimes. Kim Rasco. She pops in and she talks. But she's hilarious. When we get together, you never know what's going to happen. So I guarantee we're going to have fun when we do this. But we're setting that up. Hopefully going to look for the next cooler days over the next couple weeks. We're going to try to get out and do a few things. Because I've not been out of my house in a long, long time. And I'm about to go crazy. I don't care if I have to be on a walker. I've got to get out of this goddamn house. So expect some adventure. Yes, mild adventure because it's me. But expect some adventure from me. And I'm also going to take you to the R. Brook store, which makes the best fried bologna sandwich in the state of Tennessee. It's proven. It's been in magazines. It's been in black and white, so I know it's true. I'm going to take you there, and I'm going to show you what a fried bologna sandwich from Arm Books looks like, and show you the old general store. So I think it'd be fun, and I think it'd be a good day out for me and my bestie, because we have not had a girls' day in a long time, and we need one. So look forward to that, and we'll see if I feel like being loud tomorrow. I don't know. It depends on if there's any news that comes by. But that's it for tonight. Thank you for spending time with me. Make sure you follow David at Hillbilly Furs. Make sure you go to the Etsy store, Hillbilly Heart Decor, and look at what David has put on. He put a couple new items on today. And if you ever need to contact me, as Denise put it in there, it's watersworkload@gmail.com. Give me an email. And I'm always here to have a friendly chat, chew the fat, do whatever you need to do. If you just need somebody to talk to, I'm here for you. Fried bologna, I can't have many of them. I love a fried bologna sandwich. I love a fried bologna sandwich. And Denise, yeah, they knew they were, and somebody did not do the appropriate paperwork, because had they done the appropriate paperwork, that would have put a potential, should have stopped any purchasing of any weapons. That is that red flag law that is sometimes used inappropriately, but in this context it would have been used appropriately, but nobody did the paperwork. Nobody filled out the paperwork. So the family could have done it. The cops could have done it. Nobody did it. And it's like, you can, these laws only work if you obey them. And that's for the people that are supposed to enforce them. You have to use them. So hopefully we will start seeing people with histories become a much more prominent. Let's make sure we get the paperwork and we get it on file, and we have a report of contact with officers because of this, so that it shows up. They dropped the ball so bad. So bad. Well, that's also my thing is, these people that have been doing all these really horrible things have had some really fancy schmancy pew-pews. I mean, fancy schmancy to the point of most people could never afford. The boy that was in Uvalde had 60 mags in a bag. Do you know how much that would weigh? And they said he was running around with 60 magazines, 60 fully loaded magazines. That would weigh 50 to 60, 70 pounds. How is he running anywhere? And just the ammunition alone would have been like $1,500. The magazines alone would have been another couple grand. The gun was a couple, $3,000. I mean, he had spent like $8,000-9,000 working at Wendy's part-time flipping burgers. Seriously? There's no credit card trail. So how did he get it? And I have the same question here. And I think a lot of this is probably funded. I think a lot of this is probably these young people get into radicalized groups and they have issues, disorders, mental health issues. They have gaps in the love and commitment that they feel from their family. And these people prey upon them, set them up for failure, and then fund them. And they do these horrible things. And that is definitely one trail that my brain is following. It may not come to be the right trail, but that is definitely one thought pattern that I'm having. But I will say that it doesn't surprise me that there was a failure all the way around with the paperwork and the police contact and the family. Y'all were failing each other every day. There's very few people that have a heart that is the heart required to have our old America back. There's just not very many good people out there. So the people that do have the good hearts, you have to really pump out the good energy, and you have to really overcompensate for the deficit that we've got creating in these new generations. It's the only way we're going to overcome this. We have got to lead by example, and we have got to make sure that our example is flawless and it is filled with love. You can be firm, you can have boundaries, but you can do it in a loving way. And we've got to try harder. We've got to try harder. Most teenagers that are struggling, they get everything they need but discipline. And I'll have you know that when I worked with teenagers in the Wilderness Boot Camp, when they got discipline and they got it paired with appropriate love and respect, made all the difference in the world. They craved discipline, but it needed to be paired correctly with love and respect. And we're not a nation that prides herself on that anymore, and it's such a shame. We pride ourselves on being outlandish, on shock and awe, on theatrics, and publicly shaming and embarrassing people, and making families feel like they are not part of this nation. And all we hear politicians talk about the flyover states. Well, it's the flyover states that feed you. It's the flyover states that are factory workers, that manufacture everything. And the coastal areas in this nation are playgrounds. They're playgrounds. Do not knock the people in the middle in the breadbasket of this nation. We are the backbone. And if you've got politicians saying that, and they have a large constituency and voter base, then there are a lot of people that share that very demeaning and condescending view. And it's wrong. It's wrong. I don't mind people in California living their lives. You go ham it up in California. If that's where you want to live, go do it. If you want to live in Portland, Oregon, even though I would not even feel safe there, you go live in Portland, Oregon. That's your right. That's what you want to live in, and that's what you want to be part of, you go. I don't want to be part of that. But I'm not going to tell you that your life means less than mine because of geographic location. It doesn't. So while I may not agree with people that live in Portland, Oregon, or live in California and some of the areas that do crazy things, or New York, their lives are just as precious as mine. But we don't get that in return a lot, especially for the breadbasket of this nation. We're demeaned and belittled and berated, and it's terrifying. It's every time that Ocasio-Cortez woman opens her mouth, it terrifies me. Because she's such a leader among the younger people, but she's marching them all straight to hell. She's marching them all straight to thinking that the government is supposed to come in and take care of you, that the government is supposed to fix all these things, and that you don't need to take care of yourself. The government will take care of you. No, you need to take care of yourself, because the government screws everything up. We can tell this by just the counseling and mental health and family working, DCS, that the government has attempted to do. We already know they foobar everything they touch. So these people who have this great hope in the government freak me out, because I'm like, what have they done right? Nothing. They've done nothing right. But she leads these young people to think that, that's the salvation of everything. That's why all these young women that are so mad now because they can't go and have an easy and convenient procedure, and you need to take care of me, and I need to be able to travel for free, and this needs to happen for free, and I need to be made sure that I'm safe and well cared for. Well, why are you not asking that of the man you're laying down with? Why does the government, this fictitious grandpa that's supposed to be the savior of all, have to come in and take care of you when you had a man riding you like yesterday's news pony that you should have had that conversation with first? It's just like, I can't make it any plainer. I cannot make it any plainer. And women get really mad when I say these things. But listen, if you're not having those conversations before you do these certain acts with people, you're shortchanging yourself. You have no idea of your own worth. You're selling your acreage for about 10 cents on the dollar. And you're fixing to cause yourself a world of hurt. It's not freedom. It's not this newfound freedom and play and expression. It is procreation. The pleasure's a bonus. But anytime you do that, there is the chance that you are going to create a life. And you need to be prepared and be having talks with people. You know something? If you can't have a talk with somebody before you proceed to do that, you don't need to be doing it. Heck, when I would go and collect semen from the studs at the horse barn, I'd walk them around the barn and be like, listen, we're going to be polite. We're not going to be nasty. You're not going to be grumpy. You're going to, this is going to be a 3 to 5 minute ordeal, and then you're going back in your stall, and you're not going to hoot and holler and act like a turd, okay? I would even talk to the goddamn horses. And women can't even talk to their partners. You can't open and speak words, but you're allowing someone to do everything else to you? Is that freedom? That seems like, being objectified and almost put into a slave mentality to perform, to satisfy some urge that you're told you're supposed to have. But you ain't figured it out because you can't talk about it. And if you can't talk about it, you can't communicate about it, and you can't express yourself with words, then you shouldn't be trying to express yourself physically. You should be having talks about this before you jump into the physical nature of it. I told my kids the whole time, do not go out of here and act like grown adults and then come back in here and hang your head and can't talk about what you just did out there to embarrass your father or me. So if you ever go out of this house and do something you embarrass your father or me, you better be able to walk your honeys back in this house and talk to me square in the eyes about it. Because if you can't talk about it, you shouldn't have done it. Yeah, I raised my kids. I was hard on my kids because I knew I was going to hand them the world one day. Imagine that. Wanting to hand the world to responsible adults. What a concept. I could rant for hours, so I need to shut up. It's 10:30. I need to shut up, and I need to wash my crock pot because I'm making chicken soup for tomorrow. So, but y'all, I love yous. The only way the world's going to get better is if we love each other. If we tell the truth, we love each other, and we tell the truth in a loving way, but we stand our ground, and we definitely learn to express ourselves without being shamed or feeling shameful about having our viewpoints, our opinions, our perspectives. Embrace yourself, love yourself, send out good vibes, and when you run into nasty people, walk the other way, but still send out a lot of love, because if we do not change the vibe in this nation, it's going downhill. And y'all, the vibe comes from inside of all of us. So good people, pump out some good vibes, good energy, think loving thoughts, start your day with loving thoughts, end your day with loving thoughts. And I don't care if you pray to your cat booger, just hold yourself accountable to something higher than yourself, so that you know you have something to climb and attain toward. Because if you don't, you will serve yourself and your ego, and you will end up having a miserable, empty life to where you're never satisfied. Always look up. Where's the next rung on the ladder, and how good of a person can you be? Go for that. Never climb down the ladder to appease anyone. I'll end on those words. I love you. I'm going to bed. It was lovely to see you all. Denise, I'm trying to get everything. I've got like massive shipments needing to go out, so I'm trying to get everything ready and boxed and packaged so that David can do one big post office shipment. So when it happens, I will send you tracking information, and you will know. But you have a letter in the mail already with the things for your grandkids. So yeah. And Gypsy, I've got to finish your skunks. I still have not decided how I'm going to do the heads. I've gone back and forth on the heads 3 and 4 times, and I'm still not at a place where I'm happy with them. I love the bodies, and I love the little tails I did, and I love the little female's little body that I put on her. But I'm just not happy with the heads. So I'm going to have to play around and maybe sculpt, or maybe even do the females out of yarn and like they do the little pom-pom dogs and stuff. But I'm working on them. It's just something I've never attempted to make before, so it's like it takes me a minute, and so when I sit down and I get to play with them, I figure I get a little bit farther. But they're sitting right here. I've just been so busy with everything else. But I'm fixing to have about 3 weeks of nothing but craft time to get ready for David's next vendor festival. So I probably will be getting a lot done as long as my health holds out. So we'll probably have a lot of crafting nights between now and the first weekend in August. So prepare for that. And a lot of stuff is gonna be new stuff I've never made. So we're gonna learn from a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. Okay, 10:30. I gotta go. I gotta wash my crock pot. Chicken soup ain't gonna make itself unless I put it on low tonight. So I'll see you tomorrow. I love you. Send out good vibes. And y'all, this channel is Hillbilly Heart for a reason. Make sure you use your heart to everyone, even those people that hate you. Make sure you show them love because you may be the only kindness they ever witness, and it could change their life. Just don't be a Dilbert and order Bobcat Hyde and think it's supposed to. Shut up. Going to bed. Bye, y'all.